And we're live with our Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday edition of Litvak Leadership Live with our special guest. And you may not recognize him from the thumbnail that we use.
Right.
But this is my friend Calvin Bader. Oh, wow, we've got a like already. How fast is that? And there's Cousin Sari jumping on. So Cousin Sari is number one on the show today.
Okay.
Always exciting. So
wait a minute, she's the queen of Las Vegas, right?
Queen of Las Vegas. Yes, Sari is the queen of Las Vegas. Here we go. And Sari's always good for some comments too. So yes, Sari, Calvin is in the hot seat today. He's had some folks sharing the show, and we're going to see if he can reach your pinnacle of the success that you reached on the show. So as we're waiting for some people to log in, I just want to tell everyone, I'm always looking for people to interview. If there's someone you think that I should be interviewing, please send an email to interview@litvakleadership.com. And myself and my huge staff, there are a few of them, will look over these people. And that was how we had yesterday's guest show up. So someone named Aunt Susan is here.
Hey, Aunt Susan. Yeah.
So Cruisin' Susan is here too. And yes, okay. And it's not May 4th, so I'm not sure why we want the 4th to be with us.
Darth Vader.
And your daughter's here. There we go.
Yeah.
You using your wife's phone. So all right, people. So we're here to talk to Calvin, and Calvin's got a most unique life because between engineering, piloting, and homesteading, Calvin is like that beat on the chest every guy that I think many of us want to be. So Calvin, tell everyone first, how did you get into being the soon-to-be king of radio engineering?
Oh, I like that title.
Okay.
I think it was just something that I naturally fell into when I was in high school. I started really working with a local church in their media department, and the gentleman that was doing the engineering, John Bradshaw, he kind of took me underneath his wing and said, hey, he'll teach me whatever he could if I was interested. So I just came up underneath him and absorbed all of the info that I could. My father-in-law was also in the tower industry, and he climbed. Of course, at that time, he was not my father-in-law, but he helped get me kind of plugged in as well. So that's where it all started, and I felt like God just gave me a natural talent for understanding the technical aspects of everything. Honestly, I mean, it's not just related to the broadcast side, but it was just a natural gift that I had.
Now, what's the BarCAD side? You're using words we don't understand.
Broadcast.
Oh, okay, wait. Let me fix my ears. The broadcast side. Okay,
broadcast.
So for people who don't know, when you're driving down the road and you see these immense radio towers out there, when there's an issue, they call Calvin.
Correct.
So what exactly do you do? Because you work with 20 some odd stations, which I know keeps you busy. What is maintenance like on these? Are you like there picking out dead bird parts, or what are you doing?
It goes from everything from just general maintenance, going into the transmitter site, making sure everything is clean, keeping the debris down so that you don't end up with issues, all the way to somebody goes off the air in the middle of the night and gives me a call, and I go work on getting them back on, hopefully, in the shortest amount of time possible.
So what is the strangest thing you've ever run into that has knocked a station off the air?
A mouse.
You obviously know the answer because the smile hit your face.
Yeah, mice, snakes, any field rodent, whether it's groundhogs, different issues there. But they get into some very weird places and cross over electrical components and short that out, which of course kills them. But they stay in that position, and it creates a short in the transmitter. So you got to go in and clean it all up, and that's one of the reasons that we try to do the preventative maintenance ahead of time, so that we can set traps and different ways of preventing those things from getting into the site.
Okay, so we're going to ping pong on different topics.
Sure.
And as I'm talking to you, and I'm looking at your beard, and I'm looking at my, little beard here.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to get that length of growth?
Well, I've been working on this for probably about I'd say about 8 years, trimming it, here and there. But it's funny when my wife and I look back at pictures from several years ago, and it's short. Everybody, it just looks funny. I don't look normal.
And now you've got. I mean, you've got what, like 8 inches there?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So when you're climbing the tower, do you remember who was the guy? Coach Lou Albano. You remember Coach Lou Albano from WWF?
No.
Okay, so he had a beard similar to yours, and he would like rubber band it down. Do you rubber band it down as you're climbing, or?
Well, I don't do much climbing anymore. I have in the past. So I usually leave the climbing to other people at this point. My brother-in-law has a tower company. My son works with him. So I kind of push all of the tower climbing to them. But in the past, when I have climbed, I would definitely do something to protect it so it's not getting caught in anything. And more importantly, when I go ride the motorcycle, that's when you really have to, because if not, it splits, and I get half of it on each side. So it's not the greatest look.
I remember my dad did a comb over when I was a kid, just the solid half a can of hairspray comb over. And what made me realize that if I went bald, that I would never do a comb over, was when we would go on vacation driving to Florida.
Right.
And, before air conditioning, he'd open up the window, and his comb over would flap out and be waving in the wind as we were driving down the road. And looking at that, I remember at like 9 years old thinking, yeah, I'm never doing that.
Yeah, I determined early on I wasn't either. I had an uncle that did that, and it didn't look good.
Yeah, just it's not happening. So okay, so you don't climb anymore, but before you climbed, what was the greatest height you ever climbed up?
Yep, there is a tower in LaGrange, Kentucky that is 1,700 feet.
Oh my!
And, I've been to the probably the top 100 feet of that is actually a pole that used to house the antenna. So I was at the top of that, so right around 1,600 feet.
And what is it? Is it like every 15 feet it counts as one story?
Approximately, yeah. I think it's around 12 to 15 feet is a story. Yeah.
And you climbed 1,500 feet.
1,500, yes.
So that's like 100 stories up.
Yeah. It's a great view.
That's like, I'm trying to think. So like, okay, I think like one of the bigger buildings downtown. Okay, so that's like the Dome building in downtown Louisville, whatever it's called now. That's like 2.5 of those.
Correct. Yes.
That is like way high. So I know from I am OSHA 30 because of janitorial services. I must be OSHA 30. And what do you do for safety to ensure that if you lose your footing, you don't plummet down and get picked up proper?
Yeah, most towers on the climbing face, or there's like that tower is actually on the inside of the tower. There's a ladder that goes up, and there's a safety cable. So your harness is then there's a safety piece that's on your chest that connects to that as you're climbing up. that moves up with you, and if you were to slip, it stops you. It'll catch, kind of like a seatbelt.
Okay.
When you're not on the ladder, you have what they call monkey tails, which are two straps that come off of your back, and one of those is always connected. So you're 100% hook off at all times.
Okay. Okay. I just
Not that you want to, not that you want to slip, because even with the monkey tail,
you pretty good.
It's definitely. I mean, I've never done it, but I can imagine that it would be quite painful.
So now tell us a little bit about, because I remember when you were taking flying lessons, and,
Yes.
you were learning about that. Was the original intent of flying to help you with the business, or was it just for fun?
The original intent was absolute just hobby. I've wanted to fly since I was a kid. Planned on joining the Air Force when I had graduated high school. That long story there, never that didn't pan out. God had other plans for my life, and so I've wanted to get my pilot's license since since I was a kid. So really just went into it as a hobby. I got my private license in October of 16, and then I got my instrument rating in October of 17. So at this point, I've not gone any further with my ratings, but my wife and I have been discussing recently of me getting my commercial rating for just furthering my education with with flying.
Okay, and so now, so you can fly with your current license. How far, or is it really based on the plane, or is it something with the licensing on the distance?
The licensing doesn't, the private pilot can fly as far as a commercial pilot can, or as far as an instrument rated pilot. It's the rating does not limit your distance. The rating limits what you are able to do with that. So with like a commercial rating, you can fly for profit. You can get, like if you said, I need to fly to Florida, how much will you charge me to fly me there? I can then, as a commercial pilot, you can charge for that. As a private pilot, you cannot charge for any of that.
You can't charge for that.
Correct.
Okay, so when did you realize that, hey, this is fun, but boy, this is going to be good for the business, and a write-off too?
Right. When I first got my license, I was just renting an airplane from a local flight school and flying club, and it was once I purchased an airplane that it was more of, oh, hey, this could really be an asset for the business and be used. So now it expands our reach as a company. Instead of it taking me 5 or 6 hours to get somewhere, I can be there in an hour and a half. So that, like I said, that definitely makes a huge impact on what we're able to do for our clients.
So you perform preventative maintenance for your clients. You perform on-call or on-demand repairs.
Sure.
What else goes into the engineering of the external tower for what you do?
External power, as far as
external tower, because you're mainly working on the tower and the components therein, right?
Yeah. So the every station has a studio location. Well, I won't say that. Most stations have a studio. I got a
studio right here, but okay,
right.
Go on.
Right. So there's equipment at the studio to maintain, whether it's audio consoles, automation systems, computer systems that are running in the background doing specialized tasks. Then the signal is sent from the studio to the transmitter site. Now, sometimes that's through an internet connection. Sometimes that's what they call an STL, which is studio to transmitter link, and that can be a microwave. Once it gets to the transmitter site, then it becomes processing that information and getting it into the transmitter. The transmitter then, of course, sends that signal out up the tower through the antenna and then out, either to your car radio or your home television set or whatever. Again, TV, of course, would be, the picture on your screen at home. So there can be a lot of different issues as to what may cause a station to have problems.
Okay. So in addition to that, and let's see if I can get this up here on the screen. Calvin and his wife have a thriving YouTube channel that I'm hoping that we can make thrive even more today. The
That would be
Traveling Homesteaders. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about homesteading, but what I want everyone to do right now, and we're going to look at some real-time reaction here and see if it happens. On your browser, I want you to open up another tab, and you'll still be able to hear us talking. And I want you to type in YouTube. And then in the YouTube search, I want you to type in Traveling Homesteaders. And then I want you to hit the subscribe button. Calvin and Donna need 33 more subscribers to get to that magic 100 number, which is the first step in YouTube world of really making things happen. So if you're not a subscriber to, and it looks like I'm not. So here, let me that. Okay. So, well, I'm on a different computer right now.
I got
so
you.
Right now, let's see, with me subscribing, that should change your number to 68. Let's check this out. And it's up, it's changing. And we have real life. And you now have 68. So we know that was me.
Nice.
Now, everyone watching, whether you're watching this right now live, you can do it, or if you're watching it while we're talking, I want you to hit that plus button to open up another tab, go to YouTube and type Traveling Homesteaders so you can subscribe to Calvin and Donna's YouTube channel. So, Calvin, what was the catalyst of, hey, we could have a YouTube channel about our adventures in the country?
Well, we had a few people tell us that they would be interested in our life and what we do, and we picked the name Traveling Homesteaders. Number one, we are homesteading, and we have 27 and a half acres, where we have started to establish a place for us to raise our family, which we have 3 children, 2 boys already grown, a daughter who is 11, but creating a place that we can hopefully raise the majority of our food. We'd like to be in a goal right now is in the 80 to 85% range of growing our own food, and becoming self-sufficient. Traveling Homesteaders came in because we have the airplane. We love to travel. Of course, I travel for work, for maintaining stations, but the family also enjoys going along and different places. So, find local things for us to do, travel to, show those as well as the homesteading portion. So trying to take those 2 things and just kind of merge them into one. So it's been a little bit of a delayed start. We created the site, we started putting videos up, and then we had some life happen. We had some family issue. We had my grandfather passed away. What's that?
Family opportunities.
Well, we actually had some health issues in the family.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather and then my grandmother, and so my wife has been going and helping care for my grandmother, and so we kind of took the YouTube channel is important to us, but it was the least important thing at the time, and it kind of got set to the side so that we could focus on family. So things are starting to get back a little closer to normal than they were. And so we are ramping back up and doing more with the YouTube channel. We just went to Madison, Indiana, and went to a air show. That's our most recent video that's been posted. There's actually another one that I finished this morning and scheduled for release after this show. So it should be released at, I think, around 3:45, and that is
trust people.
That's right.
You'll be notified.
Yes, so subscribe and click the little bell icon. And that one is Donna picking up chicks.
Okay.
So she's going to town to pick up some chickens. And actually, those were the first batch of meat chickens that we got, which of course, you had helped us recently with another batch.
Yes. So. Yes. This past weekend, I had the honor and privilege of learning how to process chickens at the Bader Homestead. And there was supposed to be a group of us there. So all you people watching today who were part of that group, Rick, and Rick had a good excuse, that weren't able to join us, just know I filled in tremendously.
Yes, you did.
Every station, and I've described this in detail to my family, and they've said you do not want to show videos or talk about them, Sean. So it's an experience that everyone should have, because the chicken you buy at the store, it doesn't look like that initially.
Right.
It's walking around and clucking people, and you need to understand what goes into getting your chicken ready. So I know you're doing meat chicken. You've got layers, egg chicken. Mm-hmm. What other kind of either what's the word I'm thinking of? Farm animals or produce? Mm-hmm. I know that don't you do bees?
Yes, we have honeybees. I've got 6 hives right now. We started the year with 3. And we've expanded to 6 so far this year. Well, that will be the total number of hives for this year.
Okay.
It's too late in the season to add, to create or build any more hives. So we're hoping maybe this next spring to go from the 6 mark to either 8 or 10. We're trying to figure out the number of hives for us to have there at that location, and then possibly set up a secondary location to house some more. You don't want to. I think the area we're in would support those. We just have to see that there's enough pollen and nectar and so forth in the area for the number of hives that you put in.
So when you went from 3 to 6, was that like a natural split that you did, or did you have to buy more bees to make that happen? How exactly does that work?
Well, we allowed our hives to swarm. A very natural thing for honeybees to do is to grow their hive to a point where they get too big for the hive, the boxes that they're in.
Okay.
And this happens in the wild, and it happens in captivity as well, as far as a beekeeper. Most commercial beekeepers won't allow their hives to swarm, because to them that's a loss of production. For us, we are trying to keep things as natural as we can. Sure. with the bees, and so we allowed the hives to swarm, and 2 of them did. Which is a sight to see. There's a couple videos on our YouTube channel that show the swarms, and I can't remember. I believe there's some videos in there on YouTube that show the actual swarm itself, where there's probably 10,000 bees flying around in the yard, and it's just a mass of bees all around. They all then land in a tree, and you capture them out of the tree. The third hive, or the third swarm that we caught, was at another location, and I put a swarm trap. It's just a smaller hive that you put in a tree. Okay. And then when bees in that area swarm, they found our swarm trap and moved into it. And it's not really a trap when as people would think of, as far as like they go in and it catches them and it won't let them out. It's okay. More just it's just another hive that's in a tree. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Condo that, it's good, but you have a home too.
Right. So that's how we've gotten to the 6. I'm hoping this next year we'll catch some more swarms and be able to create hives from those swarms.
So when they went up into the tree,
Yes.
and you got them to go out, was it like, and I'm being completely serious here, like in the
Sure.
cartoons where, like, this dark cloud of bees comes down and then all goes into a place, or was it like a horror movie where you're like, oh no?
Well, swarms, bee swarms are not aggressive because
Okay.
they don't have a home to defend.
Right.
And before they left the hive, they sucked up a bunch of honey. So they're all kind of mellow because they're full of honey and they don't have anything to defend.
Okay.
So at that point, some people will just shake them, and if you watch the YouTube videos, you'll see basically you set the box up underneath the swarm and you shake the branch or cut the branch off, and the goal is to get the queen into the hive, and once the queen is in there, then all the other bees will go in.
So is each box a hive?
Yes, like if you're looking at a beehive or an apiary where there's multiple hives,
Right.
each, and it might be 1 box tall or it might be 10 boxes tall.
So each vertical.
But each vertical box is a hive. Correct.
So if you have 6 hives, you have 6 queens now.
Correct.
So do the queens ever like migrate from hive to hive, or do they just hang out and the bees migrate a little bit?
Correct. Yeah, the queen, the only time the queen leaves the hive is either when it's a virgin queen and it's going to mate, or whenever the hive swarms. Then the queen will leave the hive with about half of the workers, and that's where the swarm comes from.
So is there a difference in the honey production and flavor between a virgin queen and a mated queen?
As far as honey production, there's not going to be any difference because the honey is produced and gathered by the workers. So
Okay.
the queen, the sole purpose of the queen is to lay eggs. So
Okay.
if there is a virgin queen in the hive, she's not laying anything. So she flies and goes and mates and then returns to the hive and starts laying eggs.
So of your 6 hives, how much people? I'm looking here at this. We've gotten 1 subscriber, and it was me. Come on now, people. Traveling homesteaders. Give the guy some love. Come on, go subscribe to this. So how much honey do you get out of a hive, and does it change over time? I'm obviously fascinated with this.
Sure, it will change over time. Each depending on the strength of the hive. If you have let's say a average hive. So if you have an average hive, you're probably going to get anywhere between 2 and 3 supers. So the supers are the smaller boxes that you put on a hive, and each super will hold approximately 35 to 40 pounds of honey. So if you have 2 supers, you're looking at 70 to 80 pounds of honey from each hive. Now, it takes several years for your hive to get to that point where it's producing that much.
So, how long does honey keep?
Forever. Yeah. If once you harvest the honey, it's got natural antimicrobial and antibiotics tendencies, and it may crystallize at some point, but it never really goes bad.
So, okay. So here we go. Rick is your bee talk and Joe Soto and Joe, you and I have not spoken a lot, but I bet your folks that watch your show may find this very interesting too. So yep, and people, oh man, people are jumping on this honey. It's absolutely. And what's the link? Joe, you go to YouTube and you type in traveling homesteaders. I don't. The link. He only had 68 subscribers,
Right.
so we can't give a link at this point. That's why we need 32 more people to hit that.
So we can name the channel, and you can go. Then we have an official
link we can throw up. Kind of like Litvak leadership, which is in my name at this point. But that's another conversation. So, okay, and now Jason, he's already subscribed, but he's a believer. And Jason has a guest appearance on one of the videos. Very nice.
Yep.
So okay, so if you're going to be harvesting all this honey, and you hear people talk about, that you should have a teaspoonful of honey a day and make local honey. Is there any more local honey than your own backyard?
That's as local as you can get. And we use the honey for, you can put it in your tea to sweeten your tea. You can use it instead of sugar in products, as you're cooking. Donna has made elderberry syrup. So you take elderberries and mix it with the syrup. And thanks, Joe. And so you can use it for a lot of health benefits, and it does help build your resistance to local allergies, so local pollens and things that are in your area. So I believe they say anything within a 50-mile radius of your home, they consider local for honey. So,
you and I have talked how, my wife and I had lived in the country for 16 years, moved back to suburbia. And now we're, kind of considering, okay, not as country as we were, but maybe something a little more rural. Look, we were so country, they didn't deliver pizza where we lived. Okay,
we're in the same boat.
Yeah. You can't get pizza. That is country. Wait, what is Joe? Your YouTube videos can share their recipes for holistic health. There you go.
All right. Yeah.
So some ideas. Joe and Calvin, you guys need to hook up. I can facilitate that.
Okay, sounds good.
So where was I going with this? So what about, like everyone, not everyone, but most people, they see a bee, they turn it into a wasp in their head, which then turns into a mud dauber, which if you've never been bitten, mud daubers don't sting, they bite, I think. If bitten by a mud dauber, you have not experienced pain unless you're a woman and you've gone through childbirth. Nothing is worse than that. Man, pain is always overblown. I'm saying it here. But what, so like when they're honeybees, do you wear like the whole suit and the, thing and the flaps? And what do you do about that?
Well, I have recently been wearing my veil much more than I have in the past. So the veil is just for your head, and I usually don't wear, they do have full body suits. I normally don't wear the full body suit. I'll wear a long sleeve t-shirt or something just to keep things from crawling up my sleeves, or, I've seen guys working hives in shorts and t-shirts, and that's it. I'm not there yet. And the reason I've been wearing my veil more frequently as of late is because I think it was last year, maybe it was the previous bees we had. I was working one of the hives and I had a bee land on my cheek. Not a big deal, but it walked over and it went up my nose. And so now I'm kind of in a panic of, okay, how do I get this out without it stinging me?
Yeah,
because you can't squeeze your nose to get, so it was
too hard, make mad.
Yeah, I closed one nostril and blew the bee out, and after that I've pretty much worn my veil almost every time.
Yeah, I get that.
So,
I'm sorry. Go.
I was going to say, but most of the time the bees are very calm. They're not super aggressive. If you work the hive properly, they don't You don't get stung. They don't swarm you and attack you and cause a bunch of problems. And especially if you see a bee in your yard, most of the time they're not going to bother you unless you step on them or you're in your bare feet and you step on them. Naturally they're just going to sting because they've been stepped on or trapped or whatever. So
I got to tell you, Calvin, every time at the end of the show,
right.
When we get to this point, I tell people, we've gone almost 30 minutes. We've gone over 30 minutes because we're a 30-minute show. So, people, if you want to leave now without getting the last bit of Calvin wisdom, you're lost. But this has been truly interesting, from radio stations to piloting to homesteading to chickens. We didn't even talk about the garden yet. We're going to have to talk about that another day because the bees just took off.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So in the last 2 minutes that we have left,
yep.
As people leave when this is over in 2 minutes, what do you want them to remember about Calvin? What words of wisdom do you want to send them on their way with?
Well, for me, it's always been about continuing my education. And I'm not talking about going to college or school or, constantly putting money out to go to class somewhere, but to just continue learning with where you are and with what you're doing. My wife has kind of coined a phrase recently that do what you can with what you have where you are. So you don't have to start with 30 acres and 6 beehives and a bunch of chickens and all of this stuff. And if you want to do something, just set a plan and then start taking steps toward that plan. And they don't have to be giant steps. They can be very small steps, and eventually over time it becomes what you had written on that paper.
Come on,
and don't be afraid to try. And we've, as far as my business goes, we have had successes and we've had failures, and it's going to happen. And what determines the outcome is whether or not you get back up and try again. So that goes for business, that goes for personal life, that goes for homesteading. I mean, anything, you can apply it to anything. Just don't give up. Just keep trying.
And in the end, Calvin, so something has happened to his microphone. He said, don't give up, just keep trying.
Yep.
That was great. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Truly interesting, truly exciting, and lots of fun. So again, if you're looking to hook up with Calvin, what is your business's website?
It is KYBTS.com. So Kentuckiana Broadcast Technical Services is too long to type. So it's KYBTS.com.
Very well. I'm going to put it in the notes for everybody.
And it's actually there was a recent problem with it and it went down, but I am working to get it back up as we speak.
So that'll be up. But in the meanwhile, go to Traveling Homesteaders on YouTube.
Yes.
Start following Donna and Calvin and his wife Donna. And if you know people in radio that could use help, or even people in radio at all, let Calvin know who they are. Facilitate an introduction. Help people out. So let's see. Last comment from Rick Ledford. Great interview, guys. Glad I watched. And from Sari, the Queen of Vegas. Loved that. Thank you, Sari. So everyone else, have a great day. Again, thank you, Calvin, and everyone else, be blessed. Tomorrow, almost forgot. Tomorrow, special time, 7 p.m. Another special guest, because they're all special. But we have a special time tomorrow at 7 p.m. So put the word out. Litvak Leadership Live will be at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Again, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.